Hey everybody, this is Eric with the Drum Addict. Welcome back to another episode of the Backbeat. Today I have my friend Kelly, KMKanDrum, with me from Philly. How's it going, Kelly?
Oh, it's going great, man. I'm glad. I'm just glad to be able to do this with you. It's been a while. We've been trying to plan this thing out, so to get it done and have it going on here today, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. And right before we started recording, we were just talking. I was just complimenting you on like your drumming is spectacular, your mix is insanely good, and then you even sing. And I was like, is there anything Kelly can't do?
Yeah, well, I can't cook a really good dinner for my wife for Mother's Day, so I let her cook. So,
That's
but yeah, no, it's
a
it's just it's something that I love to do. I've been singing. Actually, I've been singing longer than I've been playing drums. So the singing, the drumming, the little bit of guitar that I can do, and it's just all for fun. I just love doing it, and not out there to try to prove anything. I'm not trying to like. I know that whatever cover I do, it's not going to be as good as the original. So I'm not trying to like one up the original song. I'm just trying to have fun.
man. I think that's so important. If it's not fun, like what's the point? And I feel the same way too about it. Like I do it for fun. There's no like illusion that I'm that I'm gonna get somebody to be like, hey, you know, that was even
Yeah,
better
yeah,
than
yeah.
this guy that originally played it. It's just fun. It's fun to do your own take on stuff. So let's talk real quick about your mix because your mix is always so good, and not just the way your drums sit into the track, but like the way you mix your drums. Everything sounds so distinct and so beautiful. What are you doing? What's your setup look like for that?
Well, I wish that it was something that I could quantify. Uh, First thing I can say is that every single song is completely different. So it's not that I can set up my set and my setup a certain way and then just play and that's the way it sounds. I kind of gotta and Mark from Drum Club, he's been on me trying to get me to do a tour and the whole thing. And if Mark, if you're watching this, I'm working on it. I really am. I'm not procrastinating. I'm just trying to like get it all together. But basically, what I'm gonna be saying in that video, I'm gonna say here. I you have to kind of, for me at least, I have to start from scratch. And when I was in actual Philly proper, I had a room, and it was a lot bigger than this room, and I had a hard time getting it to be a dead room. So there was always some sort of echo or reverb going on, and you can hear it in my older videos. So when I moved to this place, as you can see, there's two brick walls, so doesn't that doesn't help with deadening the sound. But I tried to get the room as dead as possible. So whenever I clap or whenever there's a noise or whatever, it's just the clap. It's just the sound of the drum. There's no reverb or anything like that. Because if you can get that dry sound of the drum, then afterwards in the mix you can do whatever you want to it. You can add whatever kind of effects or plugins or whatnot, but at least you have the true sound of the drum. So I think that's probably one of the most important things because when I actually record the song and I go into to mix it, um, I'm able to I have a good foundation of just a good drum sound, and then I can put my EQ or whatever plugins I want to put in on top of that, and not have to worry about the drum sound. Trying to improve the drum sound before I put any additional effects or whatever on top of that. So, and then of course, making sure you have a decent drum set, making sure that it's tuned decently. To me, I try not to have too much overtone on my toms. The bass drum, I try to have like in the middle, not too dead and not too boomy. Because again, like if you have a really boomy bass drum, um, that's that's what it's going to sound like on the recording, and there's not much you can do to take away the boom. But if you have a tight bass drum, you can add boom to it later on. So I just did Cashmere from Led Zeppelin, and everybody knows those bass drums are boom, like probably some of the most boomiest bass drums ever. I didn't do anything tuning wise to my bass drum. It's always the same. The tuning is always the same. What I did to make it a little bit more boomy, and it's still not as boomy as John Bonham's, but it is a lot more boomy than most of my covers. It's just adding more reverb to it. Um, so that's pretty much what like I do as far as mixing wise. I keep it as dead as possible, try to get the drums to sound as good as possible tuning wise, and then from one song to the next, that's where I try to manipulate each drum to sound closer to the original,
Nice.
so that it all blends in together. Like I don't like, because I've done it before where I try to just create my sound and then insert it into different um, drum covers, and I also don't like that either. So I like to try to I, I, I like to have my playing kind of stand out as my sound, and then try to manipulate the sound to just fit within the actual song.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that because you can have a great drum sound if it's not fitting, that, especially where you're dealing with pre-recorded material. They
Yeah.
created those drums to fit into that space. And so I like that approach to it. What are you playing back there? I love your kit. And I see another kit sitting behind you. What's your go-to kit right now?
Okay, so the this black kit is a DW Design series. It's a piano black, so I love piano black drums. So this is my newest kit. I actually bought this because this kit and the kit that I've got set up now, they both got a little bit damaged during a flood that I had when I first moved into this spot. So those two kits were damaged. I bought this kit, and this is the kit that uh, for the past 2 years I've done all my drum covers on this thing. And recently, I think it was Jim. He had done some James Taylor covers, and my uncle, being one of the old James Taylor drummers, he hit me up and he said, "Oh, I did this James Taylor cover with your uncle," and I checked it out. I thought it was awesome, and he asked me to do the same song, so I did the same song, and I did it on the black drum set, and it sounded great and everything. But then I'm not sure if it was Jim or if it was Earl who said you should do a James Taylor cover on one of your uncle's sets, because these two, this Champagne Sparkle kit and this Red Cherry kit, these are two that I inherited from my uncle.
Oh,
So
cool.
so I did this whole mission to try to restore this kit. So I tore it all down, took all the hardware off, um, cleaned them all up, put it all back together, and I've done a couple of covers on this thing so far. And my plan is to do the same thing to this kit. So right
Nice.
now, what I got set up is it's a cherry red stained with a lacquer around it. Um, it's a 4-piece, so it's a 10-inch, a 16-inch, and a 22-inch kick. And then I've got my I think you remember the Cherry Hill snare drum over
Yes.
there
I,
that I
I
got.
was going to bring that up too. Yeah.
Yeah, I got that back at NAMM show, not this past year, but the year before. It was amazing drum. I walked past it, I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, that's such a great drum. I love Cherry Hill drums." And then I made the mistake of playing it. I was like, "Okay, I got to take it home."
But at that point,
But yeah, so
the
that's
product sells itself.
totally, yeah. I mean, it was like I'm blessed to be in a spot where I could throw down that kind of money for a snare. I know when I was a lot younger, I probably still would have bought it, but I would have been in like complete debt because of it.
Right.
uh, but
Understood.
so I got this thing sounding pretty good. But that's, again, when going back to sound, I've got to find the sweet spot for this drum set, because I found it with this set. and that I think that's why it took me so long to try to refurbish these two, because this one was sounding so good, and now setting this one up, it's not quite there yet. I got to kind of go through the motions again and whatnot, and I'll have to do it again with this champagne set.
Right.
It's all a labor of love, but yeah, it's not like I can just dial it in and it's every song, every kit, it's new challenges that I have to like try to work through.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Now you talked about your uncle having played with James Taylor. Was that the influence that kind of was the genesis for your interest in music, or had that started before then?
Uh, so my dad, I think, really was the one that got me into playing music because he sang and played guitar. So that I started singing, and I first, before I started playing drums, I did a guitar lesson, and my fingers just would not do what guitar player fingers were supposed to do. So I scrapped that, and then my aunt ended up marrying Carlos Vega, and we went to a James Taylor show, and we were backstage, and I was probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 or so. And, seeing my uncle, on the side of the stage on the drums, and then looking out and seeing, 5, 6,000 people, I was like, okay, yeah, I think I want to try to do that. So, that night I went home and I put some pots and pans together and I was banging away and whatnot. And I would do that every day. And, word got around back to my uncle that I was really into playing drums. So one day he took me back to his, little home studio. And he's like, okay, well, show me what you can do. So I sat behind his set. And the first time I sat behind a real kid, I could, play really basic rock beats. So he was like, okay, that's cool. So he gave me some cymbals and we went out to Guitar Center, and
Nice.
um, I got a nice little Pearl Export Pro, like Fire Engine Red kit, and played that for about 3 or 4 years, and started getting into the jazz band in high school and playing punk bands and whatnot, and back in Los Angeles. And yeah, once he saw that I could like actually play, he gave me one of his sets, and yeah, the rest is history. Just been playing ever since.
That's
Way too
awesome.
long than I would want to say that I've been playing for.
I totally understand.
Yeah,
Then I'm like, yeah, we'll just leave that kind of as a mystery. That's I
yeah,
totally get it. I'll think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been that long, since this journey started. It's crazy, but that's cool. And God bless parents that will be like, okay, you can play drums. I know my
yeah,
parents. I was like, oh, finally they put me in the basement. I had a little kid in my room, and then they moved into the basement, and they got so used to hearing it that they would kind of tune it out. So like if somebody
yeah.
called the house because we didn't have cell phones, they'd be like, "Is Eric home?" And they'd be like, "Let me check." And I'm, downstairs beating on my Tama rock stars, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, actually he is. I hear him now. Now that I'm paying attention, I hear him downstairs." But yeah, because I think a lot of parents kind of like will try to steer their kids away from such a loud instrument. Be like, what about something you can play with headphones? and,
Yeah,
and of course now, like, electric drums have come a long way. So there's that for parents that. But I've always been a no matter what happens technology wise with electric drums, I'm a big fan of just the way an acoustic drum feels in a room. It sounds in a room. You can duplicate the sound, but that feel of wood or metal, creating those sound waves and the way that it feels. You know what I mean? What have you had any experience
yeah.
playing electric kits, or have you always done the acoustic thing?
I would say 95% of my playing has always been on acoustic kits. I've played. Um, I had a V drum kit back in 2000. I want to say 2006, 2007, something like that. So it was still rather new, and I just don't have the patience to try to dial in all the sounds and not just the sounds, but the sensitivity of each drum. When I can just get behind an acoustic kit and let my hands do all the
Yeah.
sensitivity. So um, I think it's the user, not the tools. I just don't have the patience to do the whole electric thing. I'm pretty sure that if I did, I'd be able to like do a lot more. As far as playing. This room is pretty well insulated, but I couldn't play at like 1 in the morning. So that's the good thing about electric drums, and also probably when if you're like a gigging drummer, which I'm not, I just play down here. I don't really play out or anything like that. But if I were, um, there's definitely advantages to that. So I'm not knocking it out at all, but
Sure.
yeah,
Same.
I'm an acoustic guy for sure. Like I just love the way I love, banging away and making a lot of noise, and
Yeah. That's
it's
half the fun.
cathartic. It's not, yeah, exactly. It's just that when I get off the drum set, even if it was a hard cover that I had to do 20, 30 takes, I still feel physically good because I let, a lot of stress. I might have brought a lot of stress in too, but a lot of it came out. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just, I'm an acoustic guy through and through.
Cool. I think me too. And I I was listening to you talk, that was like our first experiences with drums were on acoustic drums. So I kind of wonder if that plays into the way we feel about it too, because that's been, and I've had negative experiences with electric kits. Again, not poo-pooing on it or that, but like I played in church a lot. It would be, well, what's the cheapest thing we can get? So they're buying the lowest end electric drum set, and so like it's like hitting plywood, instead of
Yeah.
feeling like drums. So that's been my experience. So you play in your studio a lot. That's what I do. I play here. I don't play out. Not that I wouldn't, if the right opportunity presented itself. But I love the control, and I love not like a control freak way, but like I love being able to do what I want to do,
Yeah,
and
totally.
explore things. And I know you do quite a variety of things too, from like, talking about the Zeppelin song, doing something classic like that. And I've heard you do a lot of pop punk stuff and rock and pop. So you kind of are able to explore a lot of different genres. Do you have a favorite, or like something where you feel like this is like solidly in my wheelhouse? This is my strong point.
Uh, I can tell you what is not my favorite. Drum, jazz is not my favorite. I mean, I love listening to jazz. I love jazz, but playing jazz is like it's a completely different animal than
Yeah.
playing rock and rock beats. Because when you get into the other genres, it's mainly that same rock feel. You have variances like Toto Shuffle, the Rosanna Shuffle, or whatever. Feels a little bit different. It's kind of in the middle of rock and jazz, but it's still got that straightness to it. Jazz is so fluid.
Mm.
Um, it's so swingy that if you don't have that feel, and if you haven't been doing it constantly, um, it'll expose you. So it definitely exposes me to how bad of a jazz drummer that I am. So jazz, Latin, the same thing. Latin's got a completely different feel. Even reggae with the downbeat on the three, it's
Yeah.
it takes a while to get used to. So those three, I try to really stay away from. And if it's a song that I really like, I did "Could You Be Loved" by Bob Marley, but even that is more of a four on the floor rather than on the three. Yeah, unless I really love it, I'm not even going to try to touch it. Otherwise, as far as favorites, just just whatever's fun, whatever makes me feel like it's going to be a fun time. It could be something super slow and even sad sounding, or it could be something angry or something happy like Poppy. As long as it touches me inside, that's what's my favorite. So like whatever song you see on my channel, however different they sound, like if you stack them all together, It's all fun to me. So that's my favorite. It's just having fun on the set.
I love it. And then in letting that whatever genre that particular cover falls in is just what it is because it does something
Yeah,
emotionally to you and like, yeah, this is going to be fun. And I try to do that. I try to do that too. It's if I don't enjoy playing it, I feel like that's gonna show to people are gonna be like
yeah,
whether I did a good job or not, they'll be like, yeah, that just didn't seem like work. It didn't seem like he was enjoying it.
totally, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think when I was younger, and I was fortunate enough to be born in LA, where in the growing up in the '90s and 2000s when I was playing music, that was like the height. I was in the right place at the right time, and that's all I wanted to do was be in a band and play all the time and whatnot. And now that I look back, it's almost as if you know God was looking out for me, because if I were to made it and our band got signed and whatever, and I was out there and touring and gigging and trying to get work as a drummer, uh, it would become work. It'd become a job. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Yeah, it's great you're making money doing something that you love, but I can only imagine what it would be like if I got a gig, like a studio gig, and I'm playing what I think the song should sound like, but somebody else is telling me, no, you should play it like this, or you should play it like that, or I don't like this, we have to redo it. And then it starts becoming a job, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think I'd rather somebody tell me what to do, doing something that I don't really care about, like graphic design, like what I do now. I don't care if the client says, oh, well, what you did here, I don't really like that. Can you switch it around, do something else? Like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
When I, you know, when I'm doing something that's a passion of mine, and I think, oh, the song will sound really good if it was just like this. And if someone were to tear that apart, it's almost like tearing me apart as well. And it's like, I don't
Right.
want to. I'm the type of person that if I'm not having fun, it's like it's not worth it. I'd rather be doing something else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good outlook on that too. And to look back and be like, oh, maybe this was like a blessing in disguise that it didn't happen the way that I wanted it to happen, and that kind of for me too was like that's what I wanted to do, man. I wanted to, study percussion in college and like lock in with a band and like do stuff. And as I've gotten older, my perspective on that has shifted a little bit. I really don't want to go away for months at a time and leave my family. Like
Yeah.
I like being close to home, and this gives me the opportunity to connect with people, um,
Mm-hmm.
and and to play music that speaks to me and that I enjoy playing. And so I totally understand that. What's coming down the road for KMKanDrum channel?
I think more of the same. Just I just love doing covers. It's something I'm almost addicted to. Uh, I committed myself about, I want to say about 2 years ago, to trying to do a cover a week. I'm not actually doing one cover a week. I might do like four or five in one sitting, and then just schedule them out for a week, because I don't want to I don't want to put 5 videos out at one time, or 3 videos like in consecutive days and just tire people out. Um, and like once you start doing that, it also again it becomes a job. Like if you have an audience and people are expecting a video a day, you just especially I think where you and I we're probably very similar. We have kids, we have family, we have other things going on in life. So it's this if this was a job, then yeah, I'd have time to do a video a day, but it's not. It's a hobby. It's something that I love to do, and I like to keep it on my terms so that it stays fun and fresh and whatever. So I'm definitely trying to do that cover a week. Um, also want to do the studio tour or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Um, yeah, just to because I'm for that video, I'm gonna from A to Z, I'm gonna go through every single drum that I have, my digital audio workstation, the process of what I do for a song, and the mics that I'm using, the heads, the interfaces, the whole 9 yards. I'll probably go through the studio as well, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's like acoustic panels on the ceilings.
Yeah.
There's bass traps on the corners. Like all of that stuff. Uh, I'm gonna try to be as thorough in this video as I possibly can. So it's probably why it's taking so long. I haven't even really done any shooting or recording yet. I'm all just trying to work it out in my head. But that's something that I'm gonna do. I'm also gonna try to be doing more like product reviews. Um, yeah. Oh, this year has been kind of crazy because we've been going on a lot of vacations. So it's like it's hard to do anything other than the covers are so easy for me to do, just because of the process. Like, once I sit down and actually try to play the cover, usually it takes me anywhere between 10 and 30 or 40 takes before I, you know, find something that I like. But the process is easy. The video editing is rather easy. Putting everything together is easy, and I just upload it. Whereas the product reviews, I gotta like actually review the thing. I have to. It's a lot to do. It's a lot more like
Yeah.
doing those and doing the studio tour. Is probably takes about the same effort as maybe 15 or 20 drum covers.
Yeah.
So now that I'm back from my last vacation, we were in Hawaii. That's done with. I don't have anything until September, so I have a good chunk of time where I can actually do videos that are other than drum covers. So yeah, so that's pretty much what's coming around. Like I said before, I'm going to try to refurbish this guy too, so that's going to be a little bit of a project. But other than that, not much else. Just trying to keep the channel going, and not because I care about subscribers or views, or I care about my subscribers, but I'm not trying to that's not my thing. My thing is to have fun, and also part of the reason why I started the channel is to kind of chronicle the things that I do for my kids and hopefully generations past, because I always look back and I try to remember what life was like with my grandfather and my great grandfather, and I always wish that there was a YouTube back then that they could share stories and whatever, and I can watch and see how what happened in their life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is just trying to chronicle. Oh, my great grandkids can come on the YouTube and be like, oh, that's great grandpa Kelly up there playing drums. How cool! So that's the main reason why I do the YouTube channel.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, and I think that those are great reasons to do it. I think seeing your channel grow is a cool thing, but the driving force behind everything being I enjoy doing this, and there's more to what I'm wanting to get out of this than just growth as a channel. I love that. I love that so much. What advice would you give to somebody starting out on the drums, Kelly?
Huh. I mean, man, it depends on the person. I've actually taught before when I was back in LA, and uh, I I went into it thinking like, oh, I have a lesson plan, and we're gonna learn this, and I'm gonna teach this, and blah blah blah. And then once the lesson actually starts, because each individual is so different, you kind of can't, like, at least for me, like there's some people that they can stick to a strict regimen of a lesson plan or whatever. But for me, I like to adapt and morph when it comes to each individual, because everyone's different. So I think, to me, if you're just starting out on drums, like my kids, they're just starting to learn about music and whatnot. And I think just to have the fundamentals down and, you know, not get too carried away, because the way I see it, some people have natural talent, some people don't have any talent at all. And the ones that have natural talent, like me, uh, tend to not to have such a good work ethic. Like, I wish that I could go back and just drill myself on rudiments and learning how to read and different styles and all of this stuff so that I could be this well-rounded drummer. Like, I'm okay, but that's because it's pretty much natural talent. Like, no one really taught me how to play. It's all my ears, me listening to tons of different music and then just trying to play it on the drums. I know a few rudiments here and there, and I know kind of sort of how to apply them on the drum set. But again, going back to Mark from Drum Club, he'll go hit by hit, and a lot of drummers do that. They'll go hit by hit, and they'll show you what they're doing. They'll go faster, and they'll go faster. Me, I can't do that. Like, I can't dissect what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I'm doing, and
Gotcha.
Going back to the whole quantifying, like what I'm doing on the mixing, it's all the same. Like, it's just me trusting my ears and trusting my playing ability. And I can't really quantify and say, oh, I can do this because of this and this and this. So as far as teaching goes, I'm not a great teacher. But what I could say for someone that's just starting out is try to find some balance. Like, there's things to be said about someone like a Thomas Lang who knows every rudiment in the book and can do anything he wants to on the drum set. That's great, and he's Thomas Lang because of that. But there's also something to be said for someone like Ringo that just goes all feel. He's all just feeling and experiencing the song and the music and all together. And he might not be the most technical person. He might not know like all the rudiments and be as technically precise and whatnot.
Right.
But what he does works for the Beatles, and there's nothing that anyone can do or say or do to discredit Ringo, because his work is already there. It's already spoken for. It's already, at the very top, and that's why so many drummers love him. I try to like go right in the middle. Learn your stuff as the best that you can, but also keep enough, I guess, mystery, for lack of a better term, to the drum so that it always stays fresh and you're never getting bored, or you like, I mean, again, I'm talking out of my behind, because I'm sure if you ask Thomas Lang or you ask anybody that's up there technically, they'll say too they have so much to learn and whatnot. But yeah, it's just trying to have fun and trying to find that balance of who you are as a player, and always just keep going. And this is with anything in life. If you keep going, the hope and the potential that you'll get to where you want will always be there. It's something that I didn't grasp until later on in life. Also, it's just trying to always get to the level of success that you want, and just keep on doing it, because if you stop, you just never know how close to success you actually got. And I believe that wholeheartedly, that probably there's been so many people that have tried to do something, whether it's drums or whether it's anything, their career, they probably pushed it so far, and they're just like, oh, it's just never going to happen, even though they were that close to finding success. But they decided to quit or whatever. So for me, if it's something that you really want to do, you really want to learn how to play drums, even if that's your end goal, is just to learn how to play drums, not to play because you want to start a YouTube channel or because you want to be a part of a band or be a part of, just because you want to play. Just keep going and keep on going you know, learn as much as you can. It's a lot different nowadays. When you and I were growing up, I think learning was a lot more difficult. You have stuff on YouTube. Like if YouTube was around when we were kids learning how to play, I'm sure I'd be a way better drummer.
Oh
So
gosh, me too.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a lot easier to learn how to play. Uh, I'm pretty sure it's probably a lot more forgiving as well. Like how you were saying when you're practicing in the basement and whatnot. I was practicing in the garage every other day. It seemed like someone would call the cops on me, and the cops were always cool. They would come out and be like, your neighbor, we really can't do anything between 10 and 10. So as long as you play within those hours, all we can do is really come out and say, try to keep it down. And I'd be like, yeah, cool. All right. I'll try to keep it down then. Um, but yeah, it's like, it's, if you're the type to, you know, not like if you want to please your neighbors, it would have been hard. But I think nowadays people kind of understand. Like I can walk around the neighborhood and there's probably like two or three drummers that are just pounding away, and it's like, oh, it's pretty cool. Like I think you go back in time, and it's probably not the same kind of reception for drummers. So it's probably a lot easier to play nowadays. It's a lot easier to find information on how to get better. So you really have no excuse. You just got to keep on doing it until you find your goal. And then, once you get to your goal of, 5 months ago, that goal will probably change to something more advanced, and you just keep going and you just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, I love that. And you said something, you mentioned, you were talking about the way, Thomas Lang and his rudiments and how he does that. And you're like, and even these great drummers would still say, there's so much for me to learn still. And I love what you're saying about the goals, because I think what I'm hearing too is you're saying there's still so much for me to learn. I'm always setting new goals, for what I'm doing and what I want to accomplish with each song or each cover that I'm working on. And I think that is just, nobody's ever gonna learn it all and be a master, because there's always people innovating. And I think, yeah, man, if we had YouTube as a kid, I mean, the visual we would have had, if you wanted to watch somebody play the drums outside of a show, like you had to either go to a clinic, a drum clinic, or you had to spend a ridiculous amount of money on a VHS tape to watch Dave Weckl break down his stuff, and now it's all available for free. I mean, there's so many resources available to us as drummers now that we didn't have when we were younger, just like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
when we were younger, we were all younger 3 or 4 years ago, but yeah, it's a different animal altogether. Well, Kelly, is there anything else you'd like to share or leave with anybody watching before we sign off?
Other than just saying thanks for having me, and I'm a fan of your show, and I love what you're doing. I love that you have started your own drum company. Started off with snares, and now you're like, going the big route, going with the whole drum set thing. And I go on your site every couple of weeks or so just to see like what's going on. And
Thanks,
yeah, like if I win the lottery tomorrow, I'm gonna be putting in an order. So it's just one of those things where like I love seeing all of my friends in this awesome community growing their channels and just getting whatever it is they want out of it, like whether it's actual channel growth or whether it's just networking with the community and having fun, just like chatting, talking drums is like just as fun for me as playing the drums. So being able to do this is really cool. I also do interviews on my channel. I've been able to interview some really cool drummers from the YouTube community, and yeah, it's awesome. I love the camaraderie that we have between all the guys. I love that it's all very positive. Everyone kind of reinforces everyone else's mission and what we're trying to do out here, and it makes it even that much more fun. So For whoever is watching this, if I know you, I'm glad that I know you, and I'm glad that we connect in the way that we do. If I don't, I hope I get a chance to get to know you guys. And yeah, just thanks so much for having me on here. This is always it's always fun to do stuff like this.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out with me for a little bit and just kind of sharing your story, and some of the insights into drumming. You guys, if you haven't already, go over to KMKanDrum. Kelly's channel is amazing. You'll not only will you love watching and listening to him play and do his covers, but you'll learn something. And there's a lot of neat stuff that he's doing on his channel. Like he said, well, I learned something anyway. He's done interviews, gear reviews. I know he did a review on the Cherry Hill snare drum he was talking about. So check it out. All kinds of neat stuff. I'll put all the links in the description, in the comments, and all that. So check him out. You won't be sorry that you did. Kelly, again, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. And you guys, thanks for stopping by. We will see you next time.